Everyone got some updates from David Ornstein, so let's go through it in this video. It starts with the Nico Williams stuff. He's posted a tweet. It feels like his updates come on a Tuesday quite early in the week, as sort of there's a little bit of a roundup of maybe what's been going on recently. When it comes to like a particular overall roundup in terms of what's going on with Arsenal. But he's basically said that Arsenal and Chelsea have called their Nico Williams interest as Barcelona step up pursuit and Bayern Munich consider a move. Barcelona want to do a deal and are appealing to the 22-year-old, but it's complicated by the financial situation. Bayern have made a contract offer and may improve it. That's all with the Athletic. Now, we don't really care about Barcelona and Bayern Munich situation. Bayern have just lost Leroy Sané. Barcelona wanted him last summer. They'd be adding him to an incredible set of options with Rafinha, with Yamal, even Ferran Torres as a backup to Lewandowski. So there we go. Fair play to them. Let's talk about it from Arsenal and Chelsea's perspective. Chelsea, I think, have been moving on from the situation with Nico Williams because they've been looking at players like Gittins, Fofana at Lyon. Arsenal, on the other hand, we know there's a Rodrygo interest. Now, David Ornstein has said, let me just double check if he said this today. Sorry. He was talking about Rodrygo, and I think he basically said that's the number one target. As Barcelona step up pursuit of... no, sorry, I read that bit. Okay, my bad. Never mind. I saw something as I was sort of waking up this morning and reading all the news that sort of Rodrygo remains a genuinely possible target. And I think the Real Madrid correspondent, The Athletic, basically said that he wasn't happy, Rodrygo, with how his situation went last year, and that the Club World Cup and sort of what goes on there in his relationship with Xabi Alonso is going to be a big part of his availability. And I think David also sort of saying that Arsenal are going to be sort of very aware of that situation. Keeps mentioning Anthony Gordon too. And that's kind of the general news. And we just talk very quickly on Nico Williams in a bit of detail. Now, we've been linked, not just the last two summers, because not just last year where obviously his name really started doing the rounds, but the summer before that, I remember we were being linked, mainly because people viewed him as with a backup to Saka, two-footed, could use his left foot cover out there. We need some depth on the left. At the time, we I think just missed out on Mudryk, Beside, Trossard, whatever. Now, my general feeling on the Nico Williams pursuit is that it's been a complete and utter waste of time. And the reason I say it's a bit of a waste of time, and I'm not even sure I can blame the player on this, I think it's been very, very, very clear what the terms of the deal are for a while. The release clause is there. It's about £54 million. That was there for clubs to trigger and do the business whenever. Simply pay that money. I know that release clauses typically get paid all in one go. That's not how a lot of business is done. And clubs would have wanted to have done, 30 million up front and then the rest of instalments. Maybe Bilbao didn't want to do that. Okay. But ultimately knew the release clause. And we knew that he had significant wage demands. Now, I did a video last year titled something like The Truth of Nico Williams' Wage Demands, something like that. But the point I was trying to make is, if you're trying to sign the starting left winger that's going to take you to the title, then him being on around 220, 250 grand a week, a year. A week, that's what crazy money these players are on. I think sort of was roughly in line with what I expected in terms of the expectation coming in for that winger, the level we're expecting them to perform at. I sort of thought, well, that kind of made a bit of sense. The reality is, supposedly, he's asking for nearer 300 grand a week. And I just can't imagine that Arsenal wouldn't have sussed that out sooner. I can't imagine that Arsenal didn't know this, that Chelsea didn't know this, that clubs didn't know this. I mean, even now we're hearing, the finances are complicated for Barcelona. I think you all know what it is. Look, do I think Nico Williams should be more flexible in those terms to secure that kind of dream move to one of those clubs? Then maybe sure, but he's being offered supposedly, or he's going to be offered supposedly nearer that to be at Bilbao, and he's probably saying, look, I'm happy here. I'd love to play for these clubs, but they've got to match what I'm being offered by the club I'm at. And look, you can all have your opinions on it, but the point is, from a club perspective, I think everyone has known exactly what the situation is with that. So I think it's been a waste of time, not because I think he's been particularly difficult to work with on this. I think the terms have been there, and Arsenal, I think, have dithered a little bit on this deal. So have Chelsea, so have plenty of clubs. In fact, whoever doesn't get him, whoever doesn't match what Nico Williams has wanted to make this move happen, I think can consider themselves quite stupid, because I honestly think it's been pretty clear, and this has been multiple summers now, multiple windows. On Williams, the player, I like him a lot. I'm not as excited about him as I was last summer. I think last summer I saw him as a player where I thought he was a top player with lots of potential. I didn't mind that he was very good now, but still was only going to get better, because I felt we could get more from Martinelli, because I thought we had another year of Leandro Trossard. And obviously Leandro Trossard just started, as a left winger, coming in clutch in big games for us at the end of the season we were just talking about, before we were sort of linked with Nico Williams. And Havertz was leading the line. We had Jesus fit. And I thought, basically, in terms of the level he was at, but how much he had to improve and him fitting into the squad, I thought the balance was quite good. Whereas now I think there's even more pressure on that left winger. I think that winger's got to be at a top level, because I think they've got to do a little bit more carrying for the fact that Martinelli I don't trust as much. Trossard is even going to be here, probably. Havertz I don't trust like I did maybe a year ago, and Gabby Jesus is injured. So I think there's even more pressure on that left winger being the right one, especially because it looks like we're going to go for the raw potential in Cesc as opposed to the more finished article type striker. And when I look at that, it feels like we need even more from that left winger, despite Nico Williams being one of the best options on the market. So Rodrygo's the guy for me. It has to be Rodrygo, and anything less feels a little underwhelming. Now, David Ornstein has mentioned Anthony Gordon a lot. He keeps mentioning Anthony Gordon when others aren't, which tells me he knows something. It's a little bit like when Johan Garcia kept being mentioned last summer, but it was kind of just being thrown out there. Yeah, and they want Garcia. And they're looking at Johan Garcia. Yeah. And then it never happened until kind of very late in the window where I was like, right now, Arsenal are trying to do this deal. I'm a big fan of Anthony Gordon. I have to say, there are a few footballers recently who've completely changed my mind on them. Bruno Fernandes is one of them. I didn't rate Bruno Fernandes for so long. Not that I didn't think he was talented. I just didn't see the level others did. And in this last 12 months, I thought, wow, what a player. Anthony Gordon I wasn't blown away by until the last sort of 18 months. When he was at Everton and his start at Newcastle, I just thought, I don't really get the hype around this guy. But now I think he's a really rapid and talented winger who gets goals, can do things on the touchline. I really, really like him. I've spoken about Jorginho, changing my mind about him at Arsenal a lot. And so Anthony Gordon would be a 60 to 80 million pound signing minimum. That's what it would take to get him out of Newcastle. And I do think he starts for us. I think he's a better player than Martinelli. Although, would Martinelli thrive in Newcastle's type of system in the way Anthony Gordon has done? Sure, there's that to talk about. But it's just interesting that his name keeps coming up. I still think if you're going to spend that money, it's got to be on the more proven quality in Rodrygo. But the fact it kind of keeps coming up is really, really interesting. And it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal did go in, but ultimately find that the demands from Newcastle are just a bit of a stretch. But why? I've asked this before. Why is Gordon more available than Isak? I find that really interesting. Is Isak, completely priced out? Any ridiculous deal. Say he came in with 150, but I don't think that's what Arsenal would ever be looking to do. So, yeah. Anyway, those are sort of some updates and my thoughts on the Nico Williams situation. I'm sort of glad that saga's put to bed for us. I don't think he was quite the answer, though he would have been better than what we had, but I think we need even more. Anthony Gordon needs to turn to the Premier League proven aspect. Rapid pace as well. I think he's a really good fit profile-wise. I'm not saying Nico Williams isn't, because I think also because Nico Williams can cover both sides quite comfortably. But Rodrygo's the one. I mean, that's the one we'll keep saying. The best player we can sign this summer is Rodrygo. So it sounds awful, but let's hope things don't go well for him at the Club World Cup with Real Madrid, because I want him to want to leave so he can come to Arsenal. But anyway, let's see. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section below. I'll catch you in a bit.